Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. Now, India is planning to open its car market like never before, reducing tariffs from 110% to 40%. Now, that's according to diplomatic sources speaking to Reuters. Now, the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and European Council President Antonio Costa are in New Delhi for Republic Day celebrations. But this visit is about far more than ceremony. It's a test of the EU's ability to compete with the United States and China for influence in a rapidly shifting economic and strategic landscape. And now to discuss the latest and how it all will impact the world, we're now joined by Piotr Kłodkowski, Professor, Institute of Comparative Studies of Civilisations, Jagiellonian University, and former Polish ambassador to India. Thank you so much for joining us here on TVP World.
Thank you very much for having me.
So we have these top European Commission and European Council officials. It's also the rest of the Commission or representatives of the Commission. The optics of this, tell us, is this now a power shift, this kind of presence of them there, this potential deal that's in the offing? Is this something else? Tell us about the significance of the Commission representatives there in India.
Well, it's very hard nowadays to assess the real significance of signing the FTA. We shall wait for a while and see how it could work in the years to come. But definitely it is the United States and President Trump's policies which contributed a lot to strengthening the relations between the European Union and India. Yes, India wants to compensate its loss on the American market because of the imposed tariffs. Well, nowadays it's almost 50%, and that was the decision made by President Trump. Of course, the European Union is going to expand its own activities and probably build the network of a very reliable partners in Asia. And India is an obvious partner, but I wouldn't say it is an ally. Because in Europe, we have some very serious doubts about Indian very strong cooperation with Russia. Yes, India has had a very long-standing relations, economic relations, political relations with the Kremlin, and most probably Prime Minister Modi doesn't want to change his own policies vis-à-vis Russia. But at the same time, the European Union understands quite well that China is a very serious competitor and not a very reliable partner. Mm-hmm. So India appears to be the natural choice. So both sides are very much interested in strengthening, well, their relations, which means that Indian companies will become very active in Europe. And also, European entities will expand on the Indian market, which is very, very promising. Mm-hmm. From the geopolitical point of view, it is a very important step taken by both sides, but we shall see the results in the years to come.
All right. And we are going to see those results. But already, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. And I want to come to one thing you've said as India looks like it could be a pragmatic partner, but not an ally. Now, one of those things you mentioned are tariffs. And I want to go into that a little bit further because this is obviously going to be one of those main issues. And it looks good on paper. I mean, if we're looking at car manufacturers, and that looks good one way. But what about another sticking point? And that will be things like agriculture and steel in particular. And if we're looking at steel, India is the second largest producer of steel in the world. I mean, at this point, I mean, that if those tariffs go away, what kind of impact could that have on the European markets, which are already seeing their output go down? I mean, this could essentially, really be an issue or a problem, couldn't it?
Of course it is, but that is true with every FTA. There are some economic entities which may feel very happy about the changes, but there are also those who may lose. And definitely agriculture is a very sensitive issue. So, well, both sides, in fact, are very much interested in protecting, well, this area of the economic activity. Still is another. So, yes, I mean, we shall see how it will work because, well, we need to remember that both sides need some time to ratify the agreement, and that may take around 1 year. So we shall see, most probably in the months to come, how different lobbying groups will fight for their own benefits, which may come out of this FTA. But yes, well, but first of all, we need a real breakthrough in our relations because this FTA has been, negotiated for almost 20 years. So definitely some sort of a compromise is very much needed. And generally, I would say it's a win-win situation. But some economic entities might consider themselves as losers after FTA is finalized. Well, that is true.
All right. I want to get back to one point you mentioned earlier as well as Russia. I mean, this is also in play here of the Europeans in particular, if we're looking at support for Ukraine, that they want India on their side pulling away from Russia. I mean, at this point in time, if we're also looking at one thing on the table is apparently the top diplomat is supposed to be signing this defense agreement, defense and security partnership between India and the European Union. There have already been inroads by the French and also the Germans in defense, trying to wean them away from Russia. Is that breakthrough that we're talking about here that you mentioned? How is the defense angle going to be? And are the Europeans going to be successful in pulling them away from Russia?
Not really in a short time perspective. Yes, I don't think that India will change its own foreign policy. No, that is very unlikely. And we should not anticipate any revolutionary steps taken by the Indian government. So the partnership or a very strong cooperation with Russia will stay there. And most probably India is not very likely to, give up its very strong partnership. Mm-hmm. But in the long-time perspective, everything is possible because, yes, France has always been a very close partner, but not an ally of India. So the defense cooperation has been very good for many years. Also, Germany has been regarded as a very reliable partner for India. So, I suppose that may most probably contribute to much deeper relations of the European Union with India. At the same time, yes, we are very much worried about the fact that India is somehow financing the war efforts of Russia. Because, yes, India is very much price sensitive when it comes to importing crude oil from Russia. And yes, Russia in fact, may get all the finances from both Asian superpowers, which is China and India. But that will not change very quickly. Also, we need to remember that at least 3 Indian entities are on the blacklist. In fact, the latest EU sanctions package in October included Indian companies. So Europe is very much aware of Indian foreign policies, which will not change rapidly, which will not change overnight. Mm-hmm. But we must be very realistic in our approach towards India. So it will take time to build very diversified relations with India. And India, also considers European policies vis-à-vis China as not very promising. Mm-hmm. Because China it's not a very reliable partner. It is a competitor for Europe, but at the same time, we need to build good relations with many Chinese companies and with the Chinese government, which is not considered as a threat, well, in the same way as it is in Washington. So this geopolitical situation is very complex, so both sides are aware of that, and they need to walk very, very carefully.
All right, so it's a fine line. I think, as you said there, India as a partner, not an ally, the age of pragmatism, it seems. Look, fascinating stuff. Thank you so much, sir. Former ambassador of Poland to India, Mr. Piotr Kłodkowski, also professor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for watching World Talks. But stay right here for more news and commentary on TVP World. Goodbye.